far away from the time we know today. In the mid-50s, this woman was born. This is my mother, and she grew an avid fisherwoman. Her and a friend in 1970, and my mum growing up as a my mum type of rat bag. Then she had me. There I am, check me out. Just an average looking kiddo. Who would have thought I could have created the chaos ahead? It's my grandparents. Other than my mother, they were my whole world. Massive impartation on who I am. It's just the lifestyle that I sort of grew up in, hippie, laid back. There would have been horses tied up over at the railing over there somewhere. And my mum and my dog Tattoo. Me at school, meeting my cousins up in Queensland. My best friend growing up, Alexis, and her mother, who was my mother's best friend. That's my Tina and mum. Archie and Sarah, mum's step family friends. And me with all my cousins. Hey Adam. It's me and my mum and my cousin Karen and my uncle Rossi. My godmother Heather. I was about 17 here. And then I met him in 2001. Not long after I became pregnant. Here I'm about 5 months pregnant. Not long later we have little V. Yay, little V. And she was almost 2 when she got taken, and she would have been 3 in that photo, but she was almost 2 when she was taken. Anyway, I met this guy here. I ended up doing 4 months prison a couple of days after meeting him, and he came to every single visit in all the different prisons I got moved to. He just was there. He showed up every visit, and during that time, I was at 27 years old, and I was in a prison sentence, which changed my life. I found faith in Jesus Christ in that period of time. So here I am in 2007. I've done jail, and I've been this crim persona all my life. And, it's all about FTP and that at that point. And I knew that I had to stop and seek something different. I'd lost everything. I'd lost my partner, my child, my world. I was so broken. I was so desperately crying out to God. And I didn't care about all this worldly shit that I used to care about anymore. I stopped caring about that stuff. And just to prove it, and to prove to this God who I was trying to get God's attention and find out if he was real, the biggest thing that I could ever do to disrespect who I was end up in protection or something like that. And so I signed myself into protection. I've spent about 2 weeks in there and realised it wasn't for me, because I went in there to try to get away from the criminal talk and all the big girl talk, and I was trying to seek God. I wanted peace. So I thought if I went into that place, it might help. I didn't realise that I would be confronted literally with women that have been involved in the life-taking of their own children. And what arose up in me was I went to escape nastiness and try to manifest positivity. And then I met with all these women that I want to judge and hate. So I realised I had to get out of there and signed myself back into the main, and I've done all the rest of my jail in there. But in that photo, I said to her, we're at work, I said to her, get in my photo. I want it to look like, I want to show the world in the future this photo and tell my story that I'd actually met her. When one day we were walking through Mullawara and we were being transported up to where our working location was, and the officers hadn't come around the corner towards me yet, because they used to escort us, and I started whacking her in the head, right? And I saw one of the screws come around the corner, and I went to stop, and he went back around the corner and let me keep going. That's a true story. That's Kathleen Folbig right there. Okay, so I'm at this point where I want to be a good person, and then I'm confronted with all this hate, and I want to judge these women, I want to torment them. So I got out of there, and I ended up, so volatile in that sentence. I was sick of who I was, but I didn't know how to become anybody else. And I ended up finding God and getting baptised when I came out of jail. Billy, he got baptised, and that was my wedding day. I got married. Okay? And at that point, I got Veronica back full time, and then I had Rain. So there's Veronica and Rain. We were also meeting with my other daughter Rose at that time, doing sibling visits. Me with Rain over here, Veronica and Rose. Anyway, it's Veronica and Rain. Then Jacob was born. Veronica was the most amazing sister. She adored her brothers, and that's what people don't understand. You think there's damage from certain directions. These are all wrong, actually. She was never exposed to addiction or affliction in my home, ever. And she was exposed to aggression when she was younger, and I regret that badly. But what she was exposed to is gaining back her world as a little child and her family, and then having it taken from her again. It was just, she was the proudest big sister. She absolutely adored her brothers. It's story time. This was on her birthday, and it's her little friend Lolly, and I told her that she could cut her cake in half and then have a cake fight with half of it and eat the other half. So this little goober sits out the front, and I cut the cake in half, and she dead set just starts smearing it down her own face. Her friend just looked at her like, get out. Anyway, so when I was in the church, I had become involved in a youth group and a women's group. Me and my rhyme, sitting there smiling at my girls as I'm teaching them guitar. Yeah, I did a lot for the church, and I had an amazing time. I was working on the Rima radio station, and I was doing so much at that point, but I was so tied down and distressed. I was committed to way too much, and I didn't know that, and it crumbled. But before it crumbled, I met my dad, checked him out, and went and stayed with him for a bit. That's my sister, Sammy, Rain, Veronica. And anyway, I lost my family again, and this was my first contact visit with my sons. This was after they'd been taken, my babies. Okay, and then I met Keith, who I then spent the next 10 years with. In that time, I did a 2-year prison sentence. And then I got out, a big fatty. That was sort of our first visit after I got out. And she's one of her school pictures. When I got her back, she wasn't actually allowed to go to school. They handed me back a hateful teen and said, you have to homeschool her because she's not suitable for any school. So that was a bloody chore and a half. Anyway, that's just a short introduction. I thought I'd say hi, guys. Peace out.